Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. I recently got a haircut, but my bangs were really bugging me today, so it looks probably not much better than it did before. But I find that I really want my hair to grow out, but then when I grow it out, all I do is put it up. So this way I force myself to blow dry it and style it and at least spend a little bit of time on it. But I mean, it's late in the day. This video is already late, and I figured you don't need to wait any longer. So I'm going to flip this around and show you we are working with some new product. It's going to be so much fun. So let's get our craft on. Okay, so we are working with two new products. We're going to work with the Peekaboo Farm. We're not working, we're playing. Peekaboo Farm and the Give It A Whirl dies. Now, usually I would order a bundle, and every time I don't order the bundle, it's always like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I save myself the 10%? But I really don't care for this stamp set, so I'm going to use it every other way. Now, I want to show you a sample that I made. These dies are so much fun. It's basically a reveal wheel or a spinner card. So I made one using a couple of different products. This is not what we're going to make today, but there was another demonstrator that shared an ice cream card with different flavors, strawberry and chocolate and cookie dough. And I totally wanted to case that. I didn't do exactly what she did. I wanted to try it with this. So we've got our bowl. We've got our scoop of ice cream already in here. It's like a mound of ice cream. And then we're going to choose what we want. So strawberries, chocolate, or cookie dough. Now, I would be team cookie dough all over that. So let me show you, because there are a couple of tips that I've learned along the way as I've played with this. And I need to use this set. Now, I did have a sample, but then I went to fix something and basically wrecked it. So I threw it all out. So let's start over. We are going to need the wheel. This is that spinning wheel. We are going to need this piece. We're going to need some clouds. And I am using the circle. Now, I could just stamp these little guys on here, but I'm going to do what I did on my sample and show you. Just going to show you. Okay, so I think that's all we need from that. These little critters are so stinking cute, aren't they? Now, it does present a bit of a challenge because they don't really have an end, right? So there's not many that actually fit in here. We could just do the head. But I chose to do the sheep, the pig, and the cow when I made my sample. We could use the horse too. No right or wrong. So I am going to take a piece of basic white, and we need to die cut our clouds. And there's another bundle that I'm bringing in here now. If you have been a customer or a demonstrator with Stampin' Up! In the last few months, you probably have the Hey Chick and the Hey Birthday Chick stamp sets and dies. Well, the Hey Chick just retired, and there was the cutest little barn in there. So if you still have it, then you could use this adorable little barn. You could use the sign. Let's die cut it. But I thought, because I'm a demonstrator and I don't use retired product, I thought, okay, well, let's do the picket fence because this is still current. So we would need 2 of those little picket fences. We need 3 circles, and I'm kind of thinking I might just punch them out. All the circle punches have retired now, but that is one thing I just can't bear to part with. So I am going to die cut these and I'll be right back. Now, had I been thinking, I probably would have done that in brown, but I'm also thinking it would look really nice to just have everything kind of melt into that background so it's tone on tone. But you, do whatever you want. So sad that this came and went so quickly. I didn't even have a chance to use it all. Okay, so here are our bits and pieces. There's our little picket fence. We've got 3 stitched clouds. Now, I'm also going to bring in a new die set that I have fallen in love with. It is the basic borders dies. It's all the ones that are on that side. So we are going to use the clouds, and we're going to use this and create a little hillside. And we need to do this part before we move on to the next part. Okay, so I have got bits and pieces. I had a virtual stamp camp not too long ago, and there were a lot of offcuts from that. So I've got some pool party, and that is going to go across our card base because it's not quite wide enough. It won't fit within that die. So that will go across. This will be our clouds, and we could do more than one. I wish I had my sample to show you, but I do have a sample from a couple of weeks ago, my Facebook Live, where I did the clouds and a little grassy hill and then grass, but that is from the Special Days dies, and that has since retired. Okay, so let's cut some clouds. We're actually going to cut it that way so that it comes down from the top. We'll have that nice straight edge. And we can do more than one, but I don't want the card to be too busy. So now the next thing is we're going to die cut this piece. And again, it's wider than we need it to be, but we could cut it down or just cut. And I would suggest cutting near the top because we can always take off what we don't need at the bottom. If we go too low down, we may have to cut it again to get more of our hill. And I'm just thinking now, you don't really need to see my face. And I'm worried that perhaps my mouth and the words won't line up. So I'm going to just take that out of there. Okay, so let's give this a shot because I don't want to have to re-record this because my mouth didn't line up with the words, which has happened. And then if I edit parts out, it's just all weird. So I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that part off. And now we can take our pool party and our clouds. But what I want to do is take a piece of basic white so that I know how big this has to be. Now it's going to go that way, of course, but let's line it up on here. Obviously, it's a little bit wider than it needs to be. Let's just take a little bit of that off. It doesn't need to be that wide. Okay, so we can line that up on there. We can line up our hill. You don't want to have a gap. Okay, and then we'll line this up here. And now what we're going to do is line this up and run it through our die cutting machine. Just decide where you want that placement. Like if you don't want to cut that cloud off right at the little seam, then move it over just a little bit. You can use some washi tape, do whatever you want to keep it where it needs to be. I'm not die cutting the basic white at the back. It was just kind of as a template. Look at that hot mess. I was going to say that once you have these together, they kind of stay together and then it all fell apart. So now we can go ahead and glue this on. It's kind of stitched in there because of the die cutting. So we're going to line that up. Now, the only unfortunate thing is that we end up kind of flattening our stitching by running it through again. But what are you going to do? So you can see on here that we've got the outline from where our hill was. So that tells me exactly where I can put my adhesive. You always want to make sure that your stitching is going the right way. Can you see that? This would be the wrong side. But like I said, it is a little bit flat. Okay, so there is the front of our card. Now, I just thought about it. We need to put our little hole in here, our circle. Now, I tend to do it on this side, so we are going to run this through one more time, and we have to put all of this together before we do this. Otherwise, we're going to have the cloud overhanging. So now, please bear in mind that I'm learning as I go. There are no instructions with this, and there's like all of 2 YouTube videos using this set right now, so learn with me. Okay, so if our stitching wasn't flat before, it definitely is now. We could emboss this. You can see a little bit of the pickets from my fence. You could definitely flatten this all out. You could emboss that bit. But I mean, that's part of it, is that it has to go through a couple of times for this to work. So what you could do is you could come in and do another piece, but I found the easiest thing, And the reason I die cut these clouds was to cover up any kind of boo-boos. Like, I don't really want to see that line, which you may not be able to see. Do you see from the die itself? So you can put clouds, or you can put your little hen house up there. I mean, that's kind of a little high, but we're going to have it. To be honest, I don't even know if the hen house is going to stay on here. One, it's a little big, and the scale is going to be off because I do intend to use these fence pieces as the bottom. So I think it might be a little busy. And also, I really don't like using retired product. Now, another product that I wanted to show you, and I'm not entirely sure I'm going to use it, is the new Soft Pastels. So Soft Pastel assortment. And they are Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight, Gorgeous Grape, Granny Apple Green, Mango Melody, Mossy Meadow, Night of Navy, and Poppy Parade. Now, when I did my first card, I scribbled a little bit to get a little bit of definition. The only problem with pastels, and I know this because I looked up a few videos when I got these, because I'm like, I haven't used pastels in a really long time. And when I did, they would have been oil pastels, not chalk pastels. With chalk pastels, they have to be set, and we don't have any kind of setting spray. So basically, my best suggestion is going to be to use a water painter and kind of set it. So let's give it a shot. So just wipe it clean. And I think what I'm going to do is just take a bit of that Mossy Meadow. And you can see my brush is just a little bit wet. I'm just going to add a couple little like tufts here and there. Now, I want to do the same thing on the clouds. I'm just going to use a little bit of the Coastal Cabana to add some little lines there. And for all of the clouds, I want to pop them up. I don't want them sitting flat on the other ones. There's no right or wrong placement to this. Just put them where you want. You can even have them where they're overlapping a little bit. Underneath, totally up to you. I just love that we have stitched clouds. This one overlap just a little bit on both of them. Okay, so now let's take our Coastal Cabana and just ever so lightly be a little bit darker. One of the videos that I was watching did mention mixing, like make yourself a little bit of dust. So just scratch the pastel and then mix it with a little bit of alcohol and see what happens. I don't want to have too many techniques in here. Got to save something. This catalog's with us for a year. However, this is very diluted. So let's add just a little bit. A little bit darker than I wanted, but again, playing, learning. But I think I like the dust with water the best. Can you see now how I might have wrecked my first one? Let's do this. Let's try a little bit of this. How about that? Okay, so I think that's enough for the pastels, but I did want to show you that they can be just a great addition. Okay, let's do some circles. I'm thinking the 1.5 inch circles are going to work. Now, if you don't have circle punches, you can just use the cutout from this die. It does a nice little embossed border. Can you see that? Very cute. Let me cut one out of white and you can see. So you get the stitched circle and then you get the embossed circle. So this is what I used for my samples yesterday, and they fit just perfectly in there. But if we don't want to die cut a million times, let's see, does the 1.5 inch circle work? Exactly. So let's do 3 of these. Just saving some time. And now I need a scrap. I don't want to have the one that's embossed. I'll save that for something else. Let's get some grid paper out here. And I want to stamp. I'm going to color these with Stampin' Blend. So I'm going to stamp with Memento. So let's do our cute little piggy. These animals are just so cute. If you saw them in the catalog, there is the picture this dies that they've used them with. And oh my goodness, you're going to need those dies in your life. And I could have used those for this card, but I wanted to show you a cute card using the Give It A Whirl dies. But now that I have your interest peaked, these are the picture this dies. So we've got 3 rectangles with some stitching and dots, and then we've got the 6 circles. Very sweet. And you can have it where the little animal paws are like on the outside of the circle. So cute. Okay, let's do the cow, because I love this little moo cow. And I'm wondering, maybe we'll do the horse this time instead of the sheep. Now, you can't rock these, and I mean, typically rocking when you're stamping isn't recommended, but I do find sometimes that when I rock it, I get better coverage, because maybe there's a part of the stamp that hadn't made the connection. Now, the other thing you could do is, instead of stamping 3 animals, you could put a sentiment in one of those circles. Oh, that didn't turn out very good. I am going to punch out one more circle because this one has a whole bunch of die marks in it. I also punched out an extra. We'll see whether we prefer having a sentiment or that 3rd animal. Now, the sentiments in here are so stinking cute. If this is your first time with me, you don't know that I love, love, love a good sentiment that has mixed font. But let's do hello there. Let's get to coloring. Nothing special. I'm just going to use some Flirty Flamingo light and dark for the pig, although Petal Pink could be cute too. But Flirty Flamingo. So what you could do is color this in Pool Party, or just punch out a Pool Party circle and stamp that on there. Dear cute. Okay, so we need our Pool Party scallop circle. So remember, I was mentioning that if these patterns bug you, you can run it through flat. You could run it through with an embossing folder as well. For this, I will use my Tasteful Textile. Now that we don't have subtle, I like something that is subtle and will get rid of those lines. Okay, so there we go. You can still see them a little bit. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this, but before I adhere anything, I want to take another circle. So let's take this one because we're not using it. And let's punch a hole through there. We could run it through, but I'm just going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and you could use your Stampin' Pierce mat, or you can just kind of hold it up and put a hole in there, just big enough so that a brad will fit. Quite the mess going on here. You'll be looking for that pig in a minute. I'm going to use one of the small round white brads. So there are white and black. There are square and circle. So both of these come in white and black. I'm going to use the small little circle, and I'm going to tell you step by step by step by step. Okay, so we're going to put that through there. We are going to put it through there. We don't need to attach our animals yet because, I mean, honestly, I don't know where it's going right now. And then I'm going to put that on. But before I do that, I want to put 2 mini dimensionals. And I saw this in one of the 2 YouTube videos that I mentioned earlier. Remember I said that there were exactly 2 on YouTube? This, because we're adding the dimensionals to this, will still work. Oh, my brad came back out. Okay, so we're attaching it just to the circle, which means that it can still move. See what I mean? We attach the dimensionals to this, it wouldn't move. Did it again. Okay, in there, stay in there. There we go. Okay, now before that happens again, the small dot ones are very fragile. You don't want to have it too tight. You don't want to have it too loose either. It's kind of a Goldilocks situation. Make sure that your thing can still move easily. Okay, flatten that out a little bit. And now we can start adding our little animals. Now we can't pop them up or our circle will not spin. So add some glue. And the reason I'm doing this now is because I want to know that they're facing the right way. Now remember, these circles are just a tiny bit bigger than the ones that I would have die cut. So you're kind of laying it in there as a template. Okay, so now we're going to move so that we can't see the pig anymore. And now let's do the horse. So we'll add our glue. And basically line it up and then just kind of tuck it in under there so that it fits. Lift that. I didn't have this issue when I used the die pieces. This is just because that circle is a little bit bigger. Okay, so we've got our pig. We've got our horse. And look, you get something to look at that's nice in between. Now I might end up having more space between the pig and the horse, but that's okay. So make sure there's the end of our horse. There's the start of our pig. So we want it somewhere in there. Let's glue our cow. And just pop that around. You want to be careful. You don't want to rip that brad after all of the work that we've done. But make sure that it's not there. So see, we're pretty close to the pig. Pretty close to the horse, but not quite as close. Now, if you want to cover that, I would suggest a cloud or something. I'm not all that concerned. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to my picket fence. Don't want to add too much. You could use Stampin' Dimensionals for this part. You could also use the foam adhesive sheets, which would be a lot easier than dimensionals. Now this is going to overhang just a little bit, but these are meant to line up just like that. We'll let that dry before I cut that piece off. Now here we could decide, do we want this on there? I feel like it kind of makes it a little bit too busy. I was torn with what color card base to put this on, and then I figured white was the best. It wasn't taking away from the foreground. And we need a bunch of dimensionals back here. And I would recommend using the edge pieces or some foam adhesive strips. So put some longer pieces at the bottom. You need to stay away from the wheel. You can put some around there. You just can't peel the release paper. And when I did this the first time, I did actually put some unpeeled dimensionals under the wheel, but I found that the adhesive wanted to come off, like the release paper wanted to come off. And I found a better solution with the sample that I did next. Okay, so we'll put a couple of the full-size dimensionals around the outside. And I think we need a mini up there or two. Now, I will say that we need a mini here. And we need one at either edge of this. I actually have some that are cut. We need this wheel to remain accessible. So we're not going to peel that one. I need to remember that. So let's peel everything else. While I'm doing this, I hope that if you hadn't noticed the Give It A Whirl dies in the catalog before, I hope that you are reconsidering now. I'm going to leave my finger on there so that I don't do that one. I think they really were a sleeper in the catalog because if that stellar birthday didn't grab your attention, you could totally miss the opportunity here. Okay, so we're going to center that. Had it centered and then it's stuck. Okay, so by putting that dimensional on there, we keep it so that we can punch there. And if need be, you can always put another thumb notch in there. I think you have to do it before this point because now I don't know how we would do it, but let's give it a shot. So I have the 1 1/4 inch circle punch. We're not going to be able to punch all the way in there. And because we've got so many dimensionals, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to get in at all. But that could help a little bit. And then the recipient would know that there's something going on there. But again, if you want that arrow, feel free to do it. Let's see if we can get in maybe a little bit more. It's kind of hard to know when to do this part. There, like that. There we go. And like I said, if you want to have something covering that, or maybe you want to emboss, dry emboss your background so that you don't have it. Or maybe it doesn't bother you. But I think we need a sentiment on the inside. I'm still debating. This isn't going to cover that. It's just going to cover the rest of our hill. And I don't think I want that. Yeah, I think it's too busy like that. Don't go there, right? How about... See, there's also cute little cloud stamps in here. We've got the little wall. There's tails. A cute little bird. Let's stick with the hello there. And you could color that or you could leave it as is. I do like stamping in basic gray or smoky slate on the inside just so that it doesn't steal the show. But let me know in the comments below what you think of this. Let me know what you would do different, what you might do the same. And the more you make them, the more you're going to learn the tips and tricks. So I thank you so much for watching. If this was your first time here, I'm a little late in saying it, but welcome. I hope that you will consider hitting that subscribe button. You'll catch a new video each and every week. This last month, I have been really inconsistent, and that is not my usual. I apologize to all of my subscribers because you know this is not my usual. I'm going to get back to doing one every week, every Monday. And yeah, so let me know what you thought. Let me know if these dies were on your radar before or if you're a believer now. And we will see you soon, my crafty friends. Bye.